Hello, everyone, and welcome back after that quick break from game number 2 of the day, match number 6 of this Stage 2 PEL promos. My name is Esquire. It's a pleasure to be here commentating for you guys over the course of these 4 days of gameplay throughout Stage number 2. After game number 2 of the day, we saw Tony team claw themselves up the leaderboards and take down first place position after a massive 19-point game, 9 kills, and a chicken dinner is what they were able to take away. We'll take a look at the leaderboards before we progress into game number 3 of the day, our second to last game, before we send you off to enjoy the rest of your Monday evening, and then join us once again on Tuesday and Wednesday at the exact same time, exact same place for the second half of Stage 2. CrazyCrew going to be the team that is the final cutoff, at least right now, in the top 9 positions. Hakkapeliittas, Preachers, Boris, Level, Intruders, and more are going to have to put up some big performances, not just in the next game, but over the course of the next 2 days to try to find themselves secure. Even if they put up some good games, they're still going to be sitting on the cusp of falling outside of qualification. So definitely are going to need some big performances for sure. Your top 8 here on the leaderboards: ADR Farmers starting it up in 8th place position, Stellar, HaKoHe, Fight Club, Milta Power, Brute Force, Istanbul Wildcats, and then the Tony team in 1st place position. But I believe we are going back to Miramar. Yes, confirmed by the aerial shot, the plane overhead, the players up in the cargo hold, and back into the match we go. Plane path here in game number 3 of the day, match number 7 of Stage 2 is going to be starting on the southeastern corner of Miramar. This plane path heavily favored over towards the eastern side of the map. However, not so much so that it's going to really cut off any attempts of teams to get over towards the west. Likely going to be able to drop a little bit early, find a vehicle, and quickly make that rotation if you're one of the teams that likes Monte Nuevo, El Pozo, and areas of the like. A few of our teams going to be taking some repositions. Immediately, at least drawing my attention, is going to be Dos Pilots landing over near Puerto Paraiso. And then a few squads going to be favoring up here towards the north, but not too chaotic, not any massive shifts in terms of play that we see immediately. Here, as all players have been kicked out of the cargo hold, 10 seconds remain until we see that phase 1 pop, and we'll get a better idea of how this game is going to be playing out. Is it going to be a traditional circle, or is it going to give us a shift with some type of polarity? And the latter is definitely going to be it. Down to the south, we end up going. Water going to be in play. Los Higos Island's going to be in play. And a lot of teams that went up towards the north are going to have to make those shifts down to the south. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at possibly one of the hardest rotations map-wide to have to make by a squad. It's going to be held by Boris and possibly by Crazy. Crazy not so much, but really the stretch that Boris is making is going to be a difficult rotation down to the south after spending this time, not only to get all the way up there to Torre Ahumada, but also to loot through it. Those pilots going to be happy with their positioning on the eastern edge of phase number 1, sitting inside of Puerto Paraiso as we saw them drop. But we'll check inside of Impala, where Brute Force has ended up landing. Brute Force is a squad that we've seen, at least in yesterday's games, put up massive numbers. Here today, they've kind of hit a bit of a wall. They've stumbled, I think, slightly, but still not out of the running, right? They're still in 2nd place position, or rather 3rd place position. And that's not going to be terrible for them, but it's definitely not what they want. It's definitely not indicative of what we saw yesterday. So keep your eyes on them to try to bounce back off of the little bit of a slump they've had in the first half of the day. Over here in Picado, still going to be wide open. The Preachers maintain a dominant presence here in the casino and apartments, and in a good position to make that rotation down to the south to get inside of phase number 1. Hakkapeliittas up in El Azahar going to have one of those farther rotations, yes, on the map. But if they make it early enough, they shouldn't feel too much pressure from the north, where we already talked about a few teams having to rotate, or from the south, where it should have emptied out by then. The ADR Farmers holding on to San Martin, uncontested as well. A few teams looting off in the surrounding areas, but not going to be close enough to provide any significant cause for concern. Those pilots going to be favoring to drop down to the south, wrap around the southeastern bend of Miramar, and head on over towards the west. Pretty much the best rotation that they could be taking. The easiest rotation that opens itself up from that area of the map, given our first phase's position. Melta Power also going to be on the move. An early rotation around the 4-minute mark, and our first knock of the game is already going to be coming out in the middle of the field. No help in sight, unfortunately, for our victors of the previous game. This has almost been a theme. This has almost been a theme. We saw our team that won the first game end up going out, one of the first teams in the second game, and now our team that won the second game, one of our first teams to at least take some casualties here. In the third, Hakkapeliittas walks up for the Istanbul Wildcats and secures the first blood of game number 3. Out goes Saban for the Tony team, leaving them with 3 alive to try to fight through, at least for right now. If things stay the way they are and continue on that theme, this could be a very difficult Miramar circle for these teams to have to play off of. Checking in on Stellar. Moleman, Beamy, the rest of the crew. Going to be maintaining this 2-2 loot split as phase number 1 does close out. 3.5 minutes on the clock as the blue zone works its way all the way down to the southern region of Miramar. Saw a lot of fans for Stellar earlier on here in the day. Shout out to you fans out there. Whatever team you're here to support, spam those emotes, spam those hashtags, whatever way you have to support your favorite squads, your favorite players, make sure to do so. Make sure to do so. Tony team going to be cruising on here. 1 man down, as we had previously seen. Saban get knocked down by the Istanbul Wildcats. Not going to be hampering them too much this early on. They still have a lot of opportunity to pick up some points, as well as placement here in this match. AmerouuS off of the distance, possibly in a position to get a mid-range spray down onto the members of Royalty. Suppy making that rotation, entering into the southeastern edge of phase number 1. Checking in with Boris. This is a team that we highlighted at the start of the game, a team that went all the way to the north towards Torre Ahumada and such. Will be having one of the farthest rotations to make down to the south, and so we'll continue to track them. I wouldn't be surprised to see them eating a little bit of blue zone damage in favor of an extremely late rotation, one that hopefully opens up a few more avenues of approach for that squad. Istanbul Wildcats feeling content after picking up that first blood will be rolling into a compound on a hillside to provide them with some of that intelligence that they're able to gather from this high ground position. A lot of teams starting to recognize that phase 1 and phase 2 are kind of just a waiting game. It's not really necessary to take fights. You don't really earn too much off of them. Even if you end up picking up a few kills in the process, you likely lost a little bit more in the early game that you could have used in the late game. So pick up information in phase 1, allow yourself an easier rotation into phase 2, and continue to play as such until about the mid-game point where we've seen our most successful teams start to light it up, start to become a little bit more active. HaKoHe going to be sitting 4 strong here, split off in a 3-1. One player lazy going to be holding down south. 55 seconds on the board though, before phase 2 shifts and gives us a better idea on how this circle is going to be trending. If it hard shifts down to the south, it could be an interesting, even more interesting circle for these teams to have to play off of. One that is exciting for viewers, and I saw someone say in chat earlier when they saw this circle initially that the entire lobby let out a sigh or a moan. Yeah, generally, that's the way that players react to these southern shifts, these big southern shifts here on Miramar. And as the players sigh, as the players moan, all of the viewers rejoice because of the chaos that ends up being a product of these circles. Royalty rolls in, has been able to secure a position a little bit off to the east of where the intruders currently lie. But the phase is about to close out. 10 seconds left until phase number 2 will shift. And we'll get an idea on where things are going. So not going to be too deadly of a shift. It's really one that corrects itself. No water going to be in play right here. A phase number 2 circle that in terms of area in play, everything is going to be open for these teams to pick up on. The northern side of the circle, by virtue of the southern shift, is going to be wide open. Most teams trying to congregate towards the centralized area of phase number 1's zone. Mckenzie going to be knocked down for the brute force squad as they try to rotate down the hillside to support their fallen teammate. Intruders going to make it a little bit more difficult to do so than they had intended. Few hay bales are all that keep Mckenzie alive right now as the health continues to tick down. HalloSenpai going to be trying to make a big play. Dropping down, smoke's going to be coming out to provide a little bit of concealment from the Overwatch player AmerouuS on the hillside. Big play right there for the members of Brute Force. And ooh, unfortunate. Nailcop continues to be a massive threat with the DMR off in the flank position. Had the different line of sight than the other members of Intruders, and then trying to find the res. HalloSenpai is going to be knocked as well. 2 members of Brute Force possibly risking going out of the game here early on is definitely not the way that they wanted to start this off, and Mkaelovich is able to find the flush onto Mckenzie. HalloSenpai still bleeds out. Smoke's going to be laid down, and AmerouuS has to make the decision. Is she, or are they rather, going to be able to do anything here? Or do they pretty much have to just hang back and watch their teammates get dismantled? ADR farmers going to be rolling in here, pushing off of their previous position on the western side of phase number 1, now entering into phase 2, rolling up on the outskirts of Los Leones. Not going to be a terrible place for them to hold off on, but will likely be spotted out by a few teams off in the distance. Tony team still going to be having 3 of their 4 members alive in the kill feed. You see the flush coming out. Nailcop onto HalloSenpai, so that second knock onto Brute Force is going to be confirmed. 2 kills going the way of the Intruders. Level 3 kit going to be picked up by our team that had that farthest transition. An AUG and level 3 kit to be picked up here by Boris as they continue down to the south. Preacher is going to be positioned on the hillside, definitely in a position of their own to spot out several teams rotating closer and closer to Los Leones. Shots coming off in the distance from that Los Leones spot. I believe that's Fight Club putting out some shots from the western buildings of the Los Leones city. Stellar going to be holding on. They still have 4 alive, but they are in a 3-1. Beamy going to be spread off a little bit to the north of where Kaz, Celis, and Moleman are holding on to. Shots off of the distance. We'll be trying to find connections onto, I believe, the Tony team out there. That's the 3-man squad positioned on the hillside. Long-range shots is essentially how this game is going to play out until we shift into about phase number 4. However, Level has started to eye down the members of Intruders wide open on the hill face. Will be tagged down. Moonlight with the Mini 14 is able to find Mkaelovich, able to find a second one as well. Murfle gets flushed out of the game. Will be trying to find the flush onto Mkaelovich, and that's going to be 2 points in the pocket for Level. And now looking at the other members of Intruders who have now been severely put on their back foot. Massive, massive play right there for Moonlight, able to come up with 2 quick kills. Fairly quiet as phase number 3 did shift. Level is going to have to work their way off of this far southeastern side of where phase number 2 had previously encompassed, and will have to likely move over into Los Leones. Royalty going to be moving off of that edge of Los Leones in favor of likely wrapping around to the east and then up towards the north, not wanting to fight their way through the streets of Los Leones. That close quarter combat can be so unpredictable here in competitive PUBG. So not necessarily a terrible decision. However, knock came out onto one of the members of Stellar. Kaz going to be knocked from long range. They've got the opportunity to at least push into the concrete buildings, into the cover, to safely pick up their teammate. It's really just going to be a loss in terms of attrition moving forward. One of the quietest, I think, mid-game transitions that we've seen here on Miramar so far throughout the tournament. Jesse, though, going to be changing that as he is tagged off of the bike. HaKoHe, Fike, and VladKot able to come up with the knock and the flush onto that member of Royalty, trying to readjust off of this position we had previously seen them in. They tried to drop down to the south instead of favoring up towards the north. And unfortunately, they rotated into one of the more congested areas of this Phase 3 circle. Brute Force trying to reposition very quickly. AmerouuS dipping and diving on the motorcycle. As shots come out, one tag will be had. A second one comes in. And AmerouuS and Hawk going to be both knocked down to just about 50% HP. A dangerous position for them to be in. But they've made it to cover. Unfortunately, Hawk continues to push right into one of the members of CrazyCrew. Vital going to be on the opposite side of the building. Heard the footsteps roll in. Heard the vehicle. But I believe Hawk has no idea about the threat that lies outside of the compound. STaravillo going to be spotted, actually, from the far west. So this third-party presence could be revealing that there is someone else here inside of this compound. The other members of CrazyCrew going to be rolling in off of the eastern position they had previously held to try to provide some support. And a bit of fishing coming out from the nades. Vital through the window is able to find the spray down. The headshot connection from the AKM onto Brute Force's Hawk. Now just leaving AmerouuS as the only player alive. And it's not going to be long before Brute Force is eliminated once again in 16th place position. A massive herd. We're beginning to enter into the realm for Brute Force where if they continue to have games like this, they are definitely going to open themselves up to dropping further and further down the leaderboards. Big kill going to be coming in from Nailcop, able to disable the member of Royalty out of the vehicle before getting run over. Now pushing up onto one of the only remaining members of this Royalty squad inside of the shack. Maintains their life for right now, but Nailcop is starting to feel the pressure from other areas of the map. Third-party presence going to be knocking him down to about 35% HP. Tries to prone down into the smoke. Has about half of his body outside of the smoke concealment, fully exposed to the shots down to the south, but won't be capitalized on that just yet as he begins to at least get pinched by multiple different angles. It's going to be Royalty that ends up popping out of the shack. Ruin is able to find the elimination kill onto the Intruders. Out they go in 15th place position. Royalty remains very active. At least Ruin does from the shack position, spotting out the CrazyCrew, who had begun to push over towards this direction when we had last seen Nailcop of the Intruders trying to put out some pressure. Almost 17 minutes here into the game, and CrazyCrew spots out Royalty, trying to inch their way in further and further up towards the north to avoid the blue zone damage that is being put out here in phase number 4. Suppy does go down to the blue zone from Royalty as CrazyCrew and Royalty are still stuck in this engagement. Inside of the blue zone in phase number 4 is really not where you want to be fighting this, and unfortunately Royalty is going to be feeling the massive hurt from this. CrazyCrew still has to work their way up north. They're not out of dodge just yet. They're going to be at least feeling the effects of staying down here to the south a little bit too long as we see more and more teams filter into this hard shift essentially up towards the north off of our previous circle center point. Bike Club with a long-range knock just up towards the north. You can see them in the distance, that small little pink logo. Able to connect onto the ADR farmers. But now CrazyCrew continue to work their way out of the blue zone and into the fray. They've been spotted out by Dose pilots. Lipsin is able to capitalize on that first knock. Going to be looking for more here, but they also open themselves up to the shots coming from Stellar's compound. Stellar able to recover off of that knock on the cast, keep 4 sets of boots on the ground, and remain a massive threat down here to the south. 35 seconds on the clock as phase number 4 will be closing out. CrazyCrew going to be spotted trying to make a massive rotation in a smoking Bronco along the southern edge of the blue zone, and they're going to be knocked out by Bullman. Nice spray down with the AKM. We'll be finding the connection onto the final member of CrazyCrew, and out in 13th position is where they're going to be headed here in the third match of today. Dos Pilots still going to be sitting atop the high ground position over the members of Stellar. This could be our next 4v4 team clash as we await the phase 5 shift coming in right now. It's going to be going up towards the north once again. Not exactly a hard shift, but enough of a shift to definitely put a cause for concern down to the south. Those pilots immediately going to be trying to rotate off of this, and in doing so, they've avoided the lines of sight held by Stellar altogether. They aren't going to be feeling any pressure, at least from the south. But as they go towards the north, it's going to be another story entirely. Iffy rolling up, going to be roadkill. Taken down and out, Rita sends Iffy and the rest of level packing in 12th place position. Always going to feel good to come up with a kill like that. Unfortunate for level right there. Not much that that player was going to be able to do. Pinned in between a Bronco and a Murado is not the ideal position. Phase 5 in full effect. The blue zone shrinking in now up towards this hard shift that took us further north from phase number 4. Stellar going to be working into the members of the Tony team. Remember, Tony team lost Sabin as the first blood of the game over to, I believe, the Intruders. And are going to have to be careful here. Facing off against Stellar is not going to be an easy task, especially given the numbers advantage that Stellar currently hold. Celis, Beamy going to be wrapping around, but it's the Preachers that come in with the third party. Feberino going to be dropped down by the Scar Spray. Coming out from Major. Kill going to be confirmed by the Preachers. However, Stellar has pushed up as well and continue to dismantle the Tony team. Only one member remaining, and they're going to be knocked out. Beamy finds the elimination kill onto the Tony team, sending them out of game number 3 in 11th place position. The teams now remain, and in that third party for the Preachers onto the Tony team, they did give away their positioning over to Stellar. So Stellar is trying to immediately prep for the engagement to come. They don't have a lot of time to recover off of the fight with Tony team, but they've got to do so. This is going to be a fight that they can't avoid, one that they have to take. And they also have to be worried about the surroundings. Beamy doing just that, keeping their head on a swivel, will be spotting out a member of Melt the Power off in the far distance. Fine gets dropped down and out as Stellar maintains. I guess we can call it a 2-1-1 split. They're not necessarily in the traditional 2-2 split right now, but it's going to be a split that spreads the members of the Preachers pretty thin. Moleman unfortunately gets knocked down. M416 spray coming in from the Preachers. Selfish finds the knockdown. Trade comes back in. Acelis is able to save his teammate and find a little bit of revenge. Looking for more around the left-hand and right-hand side of the tree. Is able to find another nice spray down. Headshot connection on the Legendary. Will be knocking them out. Selfish going to be flushed out of the game. Beamy and Celis making a massive play here to try to push Stellar further into this game. They just sit right outside of placement points. 9 teams remaining. And Kaz does get flushed. Now going to be truly just Beamy and Celis left alive. Preachers trying to recover off of this as well. Major, and you name it. So this is a 2v2 scenario that we're looking at. I believe you name it has popped over to Legendary to try to effectuate that res. Try to pop themselves into a numbers advantage over the members of Stellar. Now they've done it. Legendary is back on their feet. Now just has to get a little bit of meds off to bring themselves back into the fight. Beamy looking over towards Dos Pilots is able to find another nice tag down. Lipsin will be knocked in the process. See a lot of fans for Dos Pilots right now in the chat. Spamming those emotes. Keep up the support, guys. Love to see it for these squads. HaKoHe pushing up. But Major still keeps his eyes trained down onto the position of Stellar. Stellar's going to be knocked down. Beamy finds the return onto Major. It's still going to be a 2v1 scenario, and unfortunately, the flank came in too strong. You name it. Preachers are able to close out that engagement with Stellar, and out they go in 8th place position. Preachers live to see at least another placement in this match with Fight Club and HaKoHe now fully engaged in a fight. ADR Farmers Anonymous able to find a double tag down. Lipsin going to be knocked once again. Pola goes down as well. The ADR Farmers in quick fashion find a full squad elimination on top of Dose Pilots. However, they have to worry about Fight Club and the other teams lying over on the eastern side of the circle. Phase number 6 is in full effect. Huge nades coming out. HaKoHe going to be dismantled and disabled out of the game. 6th place position is where they exit out to the nicely placed frag grenade of Fight Club. As Fight Club pushes in off of the eastern edge of phase number 6, they find themselves amongst conflict between the Istanbul Wildcats and Hakkapeliittas, off to the west of where the Wildcats currently hold. Solo player for the ADR Farmers down to the south. 3 alive for the Preachers off to the west. And then our 3 teams up here towards the north is all that remains here in game number 3, our penultimate game of the day, before we break into the OG, the tried and tested of maps, Erangel. Wildcats have been spotted by Fight Club. A few shots come out. They've almost got the head of the Wildcats in sight, but unfortunately we're not able to land that shot. And in trying to attempt those shots, drew out third-party presence from the Preachers to the southwest. Phase number 7, not really a shift whatsoever. It might be a slight nudge over here towards the eastern side of our previous circle center point. But really, it's just going to be centered up on the exact same spot. Teams on the previous edge will have to make their way in slowly but surely, which draws the Istanbul Wildcats and Fight Club closer and closer to a full-on engagement. All right, we're going to try to get these shots once more. ZorF able to land at least one headshot onto the Istanbul Wildcats before quickly retreating back behind cover to dip down to the south with the remainder of this Fight Club squad. I think this is the better rotation for them to make. Obviously, they're going to be crossing the path of the solo player from the ADR Farmers. Anonymous in the prone position behind the wrecked vehicles is going to be trying to stay alive. You saw them switching over to a smoke grenade really quick to try to get some concealment from the inevitable shots to rain down on this area. Trying to push up the hillside, is able to find a little bit of cover. ADR Farmers not out of it just yet. All 5 remaining teams here in the final 3 or 4 minutes or so of this game are just taking poke shots at one another. In phase number 7, these squads, based off of everyone essentially playing edge, they've got enough room to work with to not necessarily be safe, but at least feel somewhat comfortable in being able to take a few peeks around the map and continue to put those shots out. We had a knock coming in from the Istanbul Wildcats on the Hakkapeliittas, but as I had previously mentioned, enough room in between these squads to be able to safely get that res back up. However, that will change very, very quickly as we rotate into phase number 8. The shift comes out, and ADR Farmers, their solo player Anonymous, is not going to be able to continue that push inside of game number 3 of the day. Out they go in 5th place position. BSD is able to find another knockdown onto Hakkapeliittas. Down goes staXx, the second knock onto this squad, as Hakkapeliittas now find themselves having to adjust over towards the east from what is now an outside of the safe zone position. BSD continues to be a massive threat here for the Istanbul Wildcats squad. Picks up their second kill of the game. Apocalypse going to be eyeing down Patrick. I believe the only remaining member of this Hakkapeliittas squad and inside of the shack. The second Patrick takes this peek, they will be connected on by a massive hellfire of bullets. However, hellfire of bullets going to be sprayed down to the south where the Preachers currently hold on top of the hillside, dangerously nearby to the Fight Club squad, and also in a position to wrap down the hill and pinch Hakkapeliittas and possibly even get a good counter position onto the Istanbul Wildcats. staXx gets flushed out of the game. And now, just as I just mentioned, the Preacher's going to be third partying on top of this. The high ground position does open up a lot. And Hakkapeliittas is going to meet their fate here in game number 3. Out in 4th place position they go. 3 teams going to be remaining. The Istanbul Wildcats, having lost 2 members very quickly there. Genzo still has an opportunity to get back on his feet and will be doing so. So I believe what we're looking at is a 3v3v4 scenario. The 4 stack favored over towards the Fight Club squad. All 3 remaining squads going to be engaged in a battle. It's a triangular engagement to finish off phase number 9, the ultimate collapse here in a PUBG game. And this is a hell of a way to end a match, a very exciting way to watch a match unfold. BSD, the Wildcats, continue to maintain a position on both the east and western sides of the circle. You can see they've essentially closed off any team from maneuvering around to the north. This is a power position being held by the Wildcats. However, they are going to be exposed. Down goes Laza. The shots from Rizzle come out. M416 headshot will be ringing true. Genzo going to be under fire as well. Has to dip back down to some type of cover behind a little bit of defilade. And unfortunately, right into the blue zone. It was inevitable. It was so hard to avoid. And that leaves just BSD alive to champion for their squad. Facing off against a now Fight Club with 3 alive. A 3v2v1 to cap off the game. BSD going to be spotted out, but it's the Preachers that end up third partying up on top of Fight Club and find 2 kills in the process. ZorF trying to make a massive effort, and they are able to do so. A solo player comes in huge for the members of Fight Club. A team that previously sat with 4 members alive is now going to be in a 1v1 scenario to close out the game and possibly claim that chicken dinner here in the final moments of game number 3. ZorF versus BSD. BSD pretty much has no meds outside of just a few bandages. ZorF has no HP either. It's a one-tap dirt nap, and ZorF is able to close it out. The Scar Spray comes in absolutely huge. What an effort. What a way to end that game in a 1v1. Huge plays coming out for Fight Club. A 19-point game is absolutely what they needed to close out this game. ZorF is nuts. Exactly. I mean, if you're on Fight Club, you have to be, you know, at least buying ZorF a drink or something tonight. That's a hell of a way to close out a game. So much pressure in those final moments of the match. We'll take a few looks at the replays coming off of this match. It was a slow one. It was a pretty slow match, at least through the first 15 or so minutes of the game. And then we had little splurts of action here and there, and then it erupted in the final few moments of the match. That triangular engagement, it ripped up Fight Club. They weren't able to work their way as far as they wanted to with as many members alive as possible. But all it took was one. All it took was one member in those final moments to come up with the game-winning kill. Stellar having a pretty good game as well. They were fairly active. This vehicular manslaughter coming in from Rita was an epic play for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of teams really realized towards the last maybe 3 or so phases of the game that it became increasingly difficult to try to find at least any position to play off of. We had third-party action, the likes of what we see on Sanhok here happening on Miramar, and it was very, very deadly. Fight Club, though, this is part of their path as they worked through HaKoHe and continued on around the southeastern side of the circle through the final phases of the match. ADR Farmers have been a squad that have been incredibly active in these matches, but they haven't been able to come up with those clutch finishes that they've been looking for. I mean, they finished off the game, I believe, with 9 or 10 kills, but really just aren't coming up with the placements to combo with that. That's ADR Farmers going out, 5th place position from this game, but with that many kills is going to be a nice point total for them to walk away with. BSD again having huge plays. You have to think about what the Istanbul Wildcats worked their way through to make themselves a second place position threat. It was not easy for them whatsoever. And here you see the third party, that angle that the Preachers had when Fight Club started to engage down the hillside. And then the final moment, we'll see the 1v1, the one shot spray down to end it all. ZorF with the Scar closing out the match in high fashion right there for the members of Fight Club. We'll take a look at how the points shaped up here from this round alone. 4 teams not able to walk away with any single points. Boris, Multipower, Tony Team, and Brute Force. Shocking, I think. I don't know how that's possible that Tony Team ended up going out with 0 points. But it is an unfortunate set of circumstances for our first and second place position, or rather first, second, third place position teams, all going out with 0 points. What the hell happened in this match is pretty much the question on many people's minds. Fight Club, though, says, well, there's no question here. 19 points is what happened. Istanbul Wildcats continuing to keep up that consistency. 15 points on the board. Preachers coming in with 13 points, and the ADR Farmers with 12. So overall, a very significant game for our top 4 teams from this match. It's going to be a good amount of progress for them on the leaderboards. We'll take a look at how our individual stats shaped up. BSD, 940 damage, almost breaking into that 1K club. Significant threat, certainly, from that Istanbul Wildcat squad. Our top kills from this game is going to be 5, held by Anonymous, that final player, the solo player of the ADR Farmers, taking that one away. We'll shape up a little bit of head-to-head between the Istanbul Wildcats and Fight Club. 2,700 damage for the previous round, put up by the members of the Wildcats. 2,200 put up by Fight Club. I mean, we're talking about Titans right here in terms of the performances. That is a massive amount of impact that they had on this lobby by virtue of damage alone. Here are your points, though. Your total points for the leaderboards after the third match of the day has been played. Istanbul Wildcats going to be taking down first place position. This is their first appearance in first place for stage number 2. 68 points is where they currently stand. Fight Club in second place, 64 points. Tony Team still going to be holding on in third place, 62 points. Brute Force dropped down to fourth place, 50 points. And Multipower down to fifth with 49. The top of the leaderboards has been developing, but as that has been working, so has the bottom half. Some teams have been able to make some movements just from a few games alone here today, which goes to show you how cutthroat this is going to remain throughout the final 2 days of the PELC promos. Here's your schedule for the remainder of the day. The 8th and final match on Air and Goal going to be coming up next, 30 after the hour, likely a lot earlier, guys. I would expect the 4th match to start in just under 10 minutes. So grab a quick snack, grab a quick drink, and be right back here. Don't touch that browser. The final game of day number 2, stage 2, PELC promos coming up next.